Today we are going to have a look at the top 10 most expensive mounts in World of Warcraft that most of us can't afford, and holy shit, there's some really expensive ones out there.
In this video, we're looking at the mounts in WoW that cost the most gold that you can buy from NPC vendors in-game. And at number 10, we have a tie between 6 different mounts, all of which cost 90,000 gold each.
That's a lot.
Each mount can be bought from a faction reputation vendor from each of the 6 different zones available at the launch of the Battle for Azeroth expansion. All of these mounts became available for purchase in patch 8.2 after the player has completed Battle for Azeroth Pathfinder Part 2, which is required to unlock flying in BFA. However, a player can only use 3 of these mounts since the 6 of them are split down the middle and are faction specific. We'll start off with Kulturas, which has 3 different alliance reputations. First is the Proudmoore Admiralty of the Tirasgard Sound, and upon reaching Exalted with his reputation, you can visit Provisioner Frey and Borealis to buy the Proudmoore Sea Scout. This is a fancy griffin that provides the key reconnaissance intel for the Kulturan Navy. The next mount is the Stormsong Coastwatcher, originating from the Stormsong Valley. The Stormsong Coastwatcher can be bought from Sister Liliana in Brennidan, the reputation vendor from the Stormwings faction, with which you will need to be exalted with to buy the Stormsong Coastwatcher.
It takes a while.
The final alliance zone is Dressfarm, and the mount you can buy here is the Dusky Waycrest Griffin.
Like, the thing is about those exalted mounts, I started like farming some, like for example in Voldoon, the camels. There's like a brown camel and a yellow camel. And it took me several days to actually max out to exalted. Like, yeah, you can do like the quest line for certain factions and stuff and become more than friendly and stuff, but you have to like spam dungeons and stuff most of the time to even get exalted. So not only is it very grindy, but then you still have like 90,000 gold to pay. So that is not cheap. Like, it's not like not affordable at all. If you're farming and you're doing, let's say you're doing dailies, right, you can collect some gold. Or if you have like some profession, like let's say you have herbalism and you collect constantly like herbs and stuff that are good for a good price on the market, then you can make a lot of gold and you can get this, right? But the grind itself is quite painful. So yeah. And by the way, guys, if you're new to this channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more content.
This mount can be purchased from Quartermaster Alcorn in Armon Stand and requires Exalted with the Order of Embers. So for 250,000 gold or so, you can own 3 high-res recolors of Griffin's mounts.
Getting all 3 is unaffordable.
Now we move on to the 3 Horde reputation mounts for Zandalari. The Zandalari Empire is the main faction in Zuldazar. When the player is exalted with them, they can visit Natala Hakata to buy the Spectral Terrorwing mount. This is a ghostly pterodactyl and is a pretty unique mount in the game, only having a few prior spectral mounts.
I think
the next zone in Zuldazar is Nazmir, which is home of the reputation faction called Talanji's Expedition. Here, Horde players can buy the captured Swamp Talker from Provisioner Legia.
To be honest, I think those dinosaur-like mounts, they are way more cooler, and especially like the spectral one we have here, right? Like the grayish one. If you're like playing, let's say on a Forsaken or Death Knight, I think this one actually fits with the look as well. Wow. I prefer the Horde ones from BFA, to be honest. Like, Griffins are nice, but we have already quite many Griffins and stuff, right? But this is like unique. Like, the thing is about the Griffin is like, don't we have like as like the basic the normal mounts you can like buy in like Stormwind? They're already Griffins, right? So you're just getting a tiny bit different Griffin, right? But for the Horde side, you're getting an actual dinosaur.
This is just another pterodactyl reskin, and not even special in the spectral sense, as it's just a basic green dino. The final zone of Zuldazar is Voldoon, which is the home of the lovable Volpera.
I like the purple one.
When the player has reached Exalted with the Voldoonai, they can buy the Voldoonai Dunescaper. This mount is sure to be a player's pretty purple precious Paleozoic pterodactyl.
I love this one the most.
Why exactly are these mounts gold sinks? Well, first off, the second most expensive mounts sold by these reputation vendors only cost 10,000 gold. Also, the player must be exalted with each faction, which itself could take a bit of time to grind out.
Yeah, several days.
Finally, while there is a gold discount for being exalted with a faction, which is auto-applied to these mounts since you need to be exalted to even buy them, the gold price for all 6 of these mounts still comes out to a whopping 72,000 gold. That's 200.
Oh yeah, we forgot actually this. This is the base price, but you can't buy it until you're exalted. So the actual price isn't 90,000 gold, but it's 70,000 gold. That's cheaper, significantly cheaper. You're almost, yeah, you're saving quite a bit. But the issue is, excuse me, it's still expensive.
116,000 gold for all 3 of your faction's mounts.
Yeah.
And at number 9, we have the Champion's Treadblade mount. This marvelous motorcycle mount costs 100,000 gold and is only available to Alliance players. It was added at the beginning of World of Draenor, and it has a bit of an interesting background. In 2014, Blizzard started an event called Azeroth Choppers. The promotion consisted of 2 teams representing the Alliance and the Horde, with each team designing and building a motorcycle for their faction. The motorcycle with the most votes was added to World of Warcraft as a free faction-specific mount usable by all characters of that faction. Unsurprisingly, the Horde mount, called the Warlord's Deathwheel, won and was added to the game at the beginning of World of Draenor. The Warlord's Deathwheel was awarded for free to Horde players that logged in from the game from August 1st to September 30th, 2014. The mount itself is a reward from the achievement.
I wish I was playing during then. Like, imagine getting a mount for free that now costs 100,000 gold. Why was I not around at this time? Shit. But I'm not sure. Do I like the Horde one or the Alliance one more? I feel like maybe the Alliance one looks a little better. Yeah, I think I like the Alliance one a bit more. This looks like it has actually 3 wheels, not 2, right?
Deathwheel. The mount is no longer obtainable in-game, as it was a limited time only event. The Alliance motorcycle, the Champion's Treadblade, was added to the game for gold at the beginning of World of Draenor as well, and it can be bought from an NPC vendor named Polly in Stormwind for 100,000 gold. Polly is named and designed after Paul Titular Jr., who is the owner and operator of Paul Jr. Designs, which created the Alliance and Horde bikes in the Azeroth Choppers web series. And while the Champion's Treadblade mount can still be bought in-game to this day, the Horde's alternative version of this mount cannot be obtained in any way, gold or not. Meaning Alliance players actually did get the better deal, as their mount can still even be obtained today. And at number 8, we have the Grand Expedition Yak. This massive Yak mount cost 120,000 gold, and was added to the game at the beginning of Mist of Pandaria. The mount comes complete with a...
So many people have this, and this one is, in my opinion, it's a must-have mount, because you can transmogrify your gear wherever you are, and you can repair your stuff and sell it. Like this one with the transmog, and with the vendor that can like freaking repair, and you can sell junk to. Like, this is a must-have, in my opinion. If you want to buy a mount, and like a very expensive one, save, in my opinion, first for this one. Once you have the Grand Expedition Yak, you can save again for whatever. But try to get this one first. It is so much better and so much easier to adventure with this thingy. Because if you want to change your look, you can do it on the way. If you want to sell junk, you repair your gear, you can do it on the way. Get this one first. Like, whatever your plan is, you want one of those nice looking 72,000 gold mounts, like the freaking pterodactyls or something. Wait for them. Get first the Grand Expedition Yak. That's my honest suggestion, my best tip for you guys.
It was added to the game at the beginning of Mist of Pandaria. The mount comes complete with a transmogrifier vendor, cool. A repair vendor, and most importantly, it has a nice umbrella on top.
Yeah.
Cousin Slow Hands is the repair vendor and can be found to the player's left, with Mystic Bird Hat to the transmogrifier vendor, which can be found to the player's right. This mount is currently the only mount in the game with a transmogrification vendor, and one of the only mounts with a vendor on it at all.
Definitely.
It should be noted that during Mist of Pandaria, Mystic Bird Hat was a reforge vendor, but this was changed to transmogrification vendor at the beginning of World of Draenor with the removal of reforging, which meant that this mount was the go-to for many raid groups to get at least one of, as it allowed them to freely reforge gear without having to go back to a major city, a thing that was done with every new item you obtained, especially in the days of hit caps and expertise caps. What makes this mount so unique is that it has such incredible usefulness.
Yeah.
As long as you can mount up in an area, you have access to a repair vendor and a transmogrification NPC. This makes it great for repairing armor, selling junk, and immediately fixing your transmog when you get a new piece of gear. No matter if you are leveling in alt, doing some battlegrounds, or farming mats, the mount always has a convenient use almost everywhere. The Grand Expedition Yak can be bought from Uncle Big Pocket for 120,000 gold. Uncle Big Pocket is a Grummel and a shrewd little negotiator that can be found in the Kunlai Summit. While 120.
What I like about this mount is also you don't need Exalted, right? Like, you can buy it anytime, if I'm not mistaken. Like, that's good actually, because you don't need to grind for something. You just need to have the gold and then you just buy it.
20,000 gold isn't an inconsiderable amount of gold. It can take a while to farm, and his name is certainly on point. One last fun fact about the Grand Expedition Yak is that when you dismiss the mount, both NPCs will say one of 14 lines of often humorous dialogues, sometimes referencing other video games entirely. And at number 7, we have the trio of frog mounts. The green Marshhopper, the blue Marshhopper, and the yellow Marshhopper, which all can be bought for 333,333 gold each. Buying all 3 mounts is literally 1 gold under a million gold. All 3 of these mounts were added at the beginning of BFA, and they have a bit of lore background,
so
as some of the descriptions
I
say
can
they
never
were
afford
children
it.
of Kragwa the Huge, who is the Frog Loa, although it can be said all frogs in WoW are children of Kragwa. All 3 frogs can be brought from Godam, a blood troll located in Nazmir in a small cave near the Frog Marsh area. And until Shadowlands, this was the only way to get a frog mount. Although, of course, Shadowlands added many Night Fae frog mounts, so you no longer need to drop 1/3 of a million gold to get a Hoppy Boy.
Oh, I have this one, the one from Ardenweald. This was from this mushroom monster thing. I forgot the name. Humongous or something, right? I think Humongous or so. What's the name? Yeah, there's like there's like a mushroom, a green mushroom or something you can get from like random NPCs. And if you go to like a certain circle or somewhere on the map, you can spawn a giant mushroom enemy. And if you kill this one, you actually get the mount. Yeah, I have this one already. It also looks not too bad. I sometimes use it actually. Especially if I have any transmogs that are like blue or something.
Or a 1 gold short of a million to get all 3. Yeah. And at number 6, we have the Rustbolt Resistor, also from BFA.
This
mount
so
requires a player
looking.
to be exalted with the Rustbolt Resistance on Mechagon Island and spend 524,288 gold to obtain the mount. However, with the exalted discount on prices, the gold amount is actually 419,930 gold. The gold cost for the mount of 524,288 is binary, as it is 2 to the 9th power, and the amount of bytes is 512 kilobytes. If this is a reference to something, however, it is unknown, so take it as you will. This mount can be bought from the Gnomebot quartermaster named Stolen Royal Vendorbot, which is located right outside the Mechagon dungeon portal. Not only is the Rustbolt Resistor a lot of gold, but the Mechagon rep grind is rather long and boring, requiring various daily quests, world quests, and rare kills. On the other hand, the mount does look pretty cool and is one of only 2 mounts that makes you immune to the HK8 aerial oppression unit that
Oh, this is a secondary effect. It makes you immune to this. I didn't know that actually. But yeah, I think it's better in my opinion to farm the aerial unit R21X. It's a drop from King Mechagon on, I think, only Mythic if I'm not mistaken, right? It has a very low drop chance, just 1% something. Oh, here it says it actually 1.65%. But if you do this like every once in a while, maybe you get lucky, you get this one. I'm not sure what's actually faster, to grind for weeks so much gold and the reputation is going to take weeks, maybe months, or to just do a couple of dungeon runs and get lucky for the other unit. At least this one is not rusty, right? But it depends what kind of look you have. Like if you have something like, let's say you're a warrior and you have something more brownish or reddish, like from your transmog, I think the rusty one will go better with your look probably.
K8 aerial oppression unit that flies around Mechagon, which would normally be seen knocking and shooting off of your mount, making it a major benefit to your daily Mechagon farming. And at number 5, we have the Pale Direhorn. This spiky boy will cost you half a million gold and was also added in BFA. He can be bought from Tricky Nick and Borealis and Talutu and Dazar lore for a mere 500,000 gold.
That's
and
a
while
lot.
it costs less than the previous mount, this is before its reputation cost reduction, which this mount does not have. There's nothing too much else to talk about in this mount really, which is a shame. While the mount description does say the Pelehide Direhorns are rare and the expense is justified, we're starting to enter the true gold sync mounts on this list. And BFA was certainly the most egregious in terms of gold sync mounts, with most of the mounts in the video being from said expansion, which does make sense as each expansion will have more gold than the last. With Shadowlands only breaking that up with the use of anima, but it remains to be seen what Dragonflight will bring and if it will continue to break the cycle or will return to it. And at number 4, we have the Lightforged Warframe. This mount costs 625,000 gold, and players need to be exalted with the Army of Light faction in order to buy it.
Looks so good
with
on the
reputation
Paladin.
discount from being exalted, the mount price comes down to 500,000 gold.
Still
this mount was
much.
added in patch 7.3, Shadows of Argus, and can be bought from Vindicator Jolana aboard the Vindicar. Although the Lightforged Warframe technically costs the same amount as the Pelehide Direhorn from number 5, we put it at number 4 just because the Lightforged Warframe is locked behind a rep grind as well as a gold price,
it's harder.
making it at least a bit harder to get. That being said, the Lightforged Warframe looks super awesome and has
Priest
some great
and Paladin.
animations, and we just couldn't compare it directly to the bland Palehorn Direhorn, which is just really a recolor of any mount you've seen in many other locations in WoW since Pandaria. The Lightforged Warframe's mount special is great, and this mount is so popular that it had provided an ambition for a lot of players to grind out the gold to eventually buy it.
Yeah.
So much ambition, people even assumed the mount would work the same way as a Sky Shredder does and would allow you to herb. This mount is not a light purchase, but it is a very unique mount in both style and animation, and it certainly shines as bright as the gold you spent to get it. And at number 3, we have the Bloodfang Widow. This spooky, scary spider scurried into the game at the beginning of the Legion expansion. The item to learn how to summon the mount is called the Bloodfang Cocoon, and can be bought for a mere 2 million gold. Its mount description says that its long, serrated limbs drip with the blood of its enemies and or mate.
I have a friend that has this mount, and I'm still not sure how he got it. Like, 2 million gold, guys. 2 million freaking gold. How many years must you farm for this amount of gold? This is insane. It's like your whole life you have only been saving for this mount. Like, seriously. There are not too many players that have ever reached 2 million gold, right? Like, it's pretty difficult to get that much. And most of the time you end up buying something before you reach 2 million gold. Like, getting this mount means you can't buy anything for months, maybe years.
A reference to widow spiders who commonly consume their living male mates. How charming. The Bloodfang Widow can only be bought from the Mad Merchant, who is a gnome vendor that can be found in the Wonderwoods, which is the toy shop in Dalaran above the Broken Isles. And you may know of him from our top 10 most expensive pets videos. The player only needs to have 2 requisites to obtain the Bloodfang Widow. And, as insane as it may sound, getting the 2 million gold might be the easier part.
Why is he smoking?
That's because the second part is actually waiting for the Mad Merchant to spawn. He is on a very random spawn timer, reportedly as short as 4 hours, and as long as a few days. He also usually sticks around for an hour or two before he despawns again.
What?
You can usually tell when the Mad Merchant has spawned because he will yell a line in chat and the music in Dalaran will change to a silly circus music instead of the usual theme. The wild comments on the page for this mount are full of people who've been camping the spot waiting for him to spawn for years, ever since he was added in 7.0. So, if you ever see the Mad Merchant in Dalaran, be sure to let people know that he's up. And at number 2, we have the Swift Spectral Tiger. This is a very rare and sought after mount that can easily go for several million gold on the auction house. The Swift Spectral Tiger comes from the WoW trading card game. The WoW trading card game only existed through the Burning Crusade into Mist of Pandaria before it was discontinued. Some of the cards available were loot cards which gave prizes you could redeem in WoW. Among the rarest of these rewards was the Swift Spectral Tiger, which had a roughly 1 in 484 chance of being in a booster pack, and with 24 packs costing around $120 back then when it launched, this meant you would on average need to drop almost $2,500 to get the mount. Although depending on luck, the number could drastically vary. To make the mount even more rare, the mount only became bind on use in patch 3.2, Call of the Crusade. Before this mount was bind on pickup, this change to BOU meant the mount was able to be sold on the auction house. The Swift Spectral Tiger is actually in technically 2 mounts, the Spectral Tiger and the Swift Spectral Tiger. The only difference between them is a slight alteration in the armory, a leftover from the days of normal and epic mounts. And while originally using the loot card would give you access to buying the mounts for 10 gold and 100 gold from a vendor, the addition of them being bind on pickup made them now both be given to you in the mail upon redeeming, allowing you to then sell them in the auction house. And while the Spectral Tiger is only slightly different than its Swift variant, it runs for far less. The Swift Spectral Tiger has almost always sold for gold cap at the current time. Currently, the gold cap is 9,999,999 gold. However, since it was sold in the past for a lesser amount because the gold cap has been lower, we're placing it only at the number 2 spot on this list. And finally, at number 1, unsurprisingly, we have the Mighty Brutosaur Caravan. The Longboy was added at the start of BFA and sold for 5 million gold at a vendor. He could be bought from Tricky Nick in Borealis or Tala2 in Dazara lore. Longboy is sought after for 3 main reasons. The first being that it's the only mount in the game with an auction house auctioneer. Secondly, it is the largest and tallest mount available in the entirety of WoW, and currently the only way to get a mount with this appearance, having no other reskins or recolors of this mount. The third reason is just being able to flaunt your wealth. In fact, learning the mount grants the player a special mount achievement called Conspicuous Consumption. At the beginning of Shadowlands, this mount was removed from the game. This caused some controversy as many people were not told of it being planned to remove from the vendor until far too late in the expansion to earn enough gold to buy the mount. The Brutosaur can still be bought in-game, but he can now only be found on the Black Market Auction House. This makes him considerably harder to get for the 3 main reasons. First, you're now competing with other players and their bids on the Black Market Auction House. Secondly, the minimum bid for the Longboy is 5 million, but the bid almost always goes to the gold cap of nearly 10 million. And third, it is extremely rare for this mount to even appear on the Black Market Auction House,
did they remove
let alone on your server. And while there is always the possibility to move to a server that has 1 bid on it, it would require usually up to 10 different characters to transfer to bring all the gold needed. And that is if you can even do all that before some other random crazed person instantly sets it to gold cap. As it stands, the Mighty Brutosaur Caravan is by far the most expensive mount in WoW, even before it was removed and added to the Black Market Auction House, and even more so now than before. So, therein concludes the videos. So, what mounts did we miss, and do you have any personal favorite expensive mounts? We wish to do a most expensive auction house and Black Market Auction House mounts in the future, However, finding
I can't
costs
wait to
and
check
info
this
from
one
the
out.
auction house is semi-easy. Finding costs for the black market auction house is much harder, leading to incomplete data. And with the cost of these mounts changing expansion to expansion as gold becomes easier and harder to obtain, making it far harder to evaluate, but we simply had to include the top 2 most expensive auction house mounts. Lastly, let us know what other top 10 topics you'd want to see in the comments down below.
Wow, holy shit, yeah. Some of those are not affordable, like, but get the Grand Expedition Yak if you can. If you are trying to buy any of them, number 1 priority, get Grand Expedition Yak. I'm so often out somewhere, like farming new stuff. I get like very cool transmogs, and I have to freaking use a teleport to Stormwind or somewhere to like change my look, or to Ogrimmar if I'm on my Horde character. So yeah, get the Grand Expedition Yak, guys, if you can. And this spider is definitely worth it too. Our friend has it, and it looks so cool. Like when he's riding on his Death Knight, he's a Death Knight main, and he's like on his big spider with his badass looking Death Knight. It looks really cool. Like I like this big spider. So those are like my 2 top picks here. I would go for definitely the Grand Expedition Yak, and I would try to get the Bloodfang Widow. And if you are Paladin or Priest, get the freaking Lightforged Warframe if you can. It looks so good, and it goes well with so many transmogs on both classes, because you have a lot of golden and shiny stuff on both Priest and freaking Paladin. So yeah. Yeah, guys, that was interesting. If you guys are new to this channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more content. If you guys enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give this one a thumbs up. I wish everyone a wonderful day, and I will see you guys in the next video.